Broadcasting live from SETI Alpha 6 in the Andromeda Galaxy, this is Mr. C.
Well, happy downhill day, 8th graders. Boy, I wish I could be teaching in front of you today. I miss you, and I miss just the upfront teaching part. It's what I love. So anyway, I miss you. I want you to know that. Praying for you right now. Just that God's going to bless your year, your 8th grade year, and my prayer is that you'll be able to go into a smooth high school year. So Lord, please let that be. So our prayer request. Okay, I want to show you this first. And I want you to think about, what in the world does this have to do with anything? Now I'm going to have to look over at the screen. Yeah, I think that's working good. Let me get close. One more time. Have I freaked you out yet? Then I wanted to show you this. And whoops, that wasn't good. So, and I used to play second base. You know, good hands and all. All right, let's see if I can do this. There we go. You see it? Up close. Okay. So anyway, that will come into play in a little while. See if you can think about in what way or how. Okay. So see, I think I got it. Good. Good. Well, in the meantime, Friday test, not a surprise. And then the following week, a week from Friday, no test. Okay. No test. So next week, no test. Yoo-hoo! So anyway, I am going to tell you even the point total on the sort of the first half of the test. For 2 points, you're going to write John 1, 1-3. Hey, get it perfect. Nail it this time. It's worth 2 points. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. Through him, or all things, came into being. Through him, and apart from him, nothing came into being. So we're not talking about man-made things, but everything else he made. He spoke it into existence. It didn't gradually change over a long period of time, which philosophically, just logically, makes no sense. I was just reading about William Lane Craig. He's a famous Christian philosopher. Ravi Zacharias the same, who just went to heaven. And they both said, look, if you've got stuff, you've got to have a stuffer. It's just logical. It doesn't come into existence by itself, and it certainly doesn't organize itself. So it's just silly. The evolution idea is silly. It's just silly. It's not scientific. They pretend that it is. Oh yeah, it's real. It's not scientific. It's just pretend. So anyway, so you'll have to write John 1, 1-3. 2 meanings for John 1, 1-3. That's worth another point, so that'll be 3 total. Just what it says about Jesus. He was the Word. He's eternal. He was with the Father. He made everything. So there's 3 points so far on the final. Hey, Mr. C, do we have to write Genesis 1:26? No, you do not. So not on the test. Psalm 139, 13 and 14? You betcha. 2 points. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. You were formed in your mother's womb. And I'll come back to how in just a little bit. So, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Awesomely made, fearfully. Wonderful are your works. Oh, that would be me. One of your works. And my soul knows it very well. So David was saying, this, I know this is true in my core, in my soul and spirit. Okay, so far there's 5 points right there. And then what's the meaning of Psalm 139, 13, and 14? 2 D words stand out. For you designed me using my DNA. Designed with DNA. So the meaning right there is 6 out of 30 if I do 30 points. That's 20% right there, what I've already told you about. Okay? Did you get it? Are you going to know it? Anyway, so, and there's something really cool about Psalm 139 in addition. The idea is this. If God took the time to design you, does that mean you're really valuable? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You are so valuable. And you've got a great purpose. To serve the God who designed and made you. To serve him. He's given you gifts and talents. They're going to pop out down the road. Some of them not until you're in your 20s. Even in your 30s. But they're going to pop out. Who God made you to be. And what he designed you for. Ask him for that. Lord, what gifts and talents have you given me? Reveal those to me. Now, he doesn't do it instantly. It usually takes time. So, anyway, there's 6 points. Scientific method, 6 to 8 more points. Good grief. So there's almost half the test right there. The verses, their meanings, scientific method, and I'm going to ask it kind of like this. Itchy head, itchy head. So I'm going to ask it like this. So I'm going to give you a sample scientific problem, scientific method problem like this. So what do different human cells look like? What do they look like? Muscle cells, nerve cells, covering cells or skin cells. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other kinds right now. I'll just go with those. What do they look like? So you look at them under a microscope, make drawings of them, detailed drawings of them. So what do you call, first of all, what do different cells look like? That's the problem, of course, what you want to find out. And then you might have, a scientific guess that nerve cells kind of look like this, that they've got endings that are kind of like wires that almost touch, and nerve messages can jump across between the gaps. That's exactly what happens. If you hypothesize that, oh baby, that would be great. Hypothesis, scientific guess, and then the different kinds of cells, one variable not controlled, same microscope, same power, same person looking, same tools to do the drawing with. I'm, again, carrying it a little bit to getting too picky about it. So all of those things, same step, variables controlled, same. And then you actually look and get the information and write it down like in a diary, and that is your data. And from your data you get answers, aka conclusions. So anyway, look for something like that, not that exact problem, but I will give you another problem. Then I'm going to ask you, so there's about 14 points so far. Then I'm going to ask you for the, and these, now you're going to need to start using this. Look at this. I have marked this baby up. Look at this. All of this that I've got on here, I'm going to ask you. So I'm going to ask you about the 3 different parts of an animal or human cell. Here they are. A lot of them are shaped kind of like this. We've got the outside membrane, membrane, and then you have the liquidy kind of liquidy gel-like part called the cytoplasm membrane, cytoplasm, cytoplasm, membrane, cytoplasm, and then in the center where the DNA is, that is the nucleus. Membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus. All right, do the hand motions with me. Okay, so I'm going to do them like this. So membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus. All right, do it with me on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Membrane, cytoplasm, where the equipment is located that runs a cell, and the nucleus that has a DNA in it. And then you have a plant cell. Now, a plant cell is a different shape. It's not on your lesson summary. They're kind of boxy shaped like this, rectangular shaped actually. So plant cell. Now they've got 2 more parts. Now you're seeing a photo now that shows a comparison between a human or an animal cell and the rectangular shaped plant cell. Look at the diagram of the plant cell. Look at the diagram of the animal cell. There are 2 major things that a plant cell has that an animal cell doesn't. There's the greenish stuff inside. Can you see it in that diagram? That would be chloroplasts. And they've got the green chemical in it that causes a plant to make food. What's the green chemical? You know it. It's found in the chloroplasts, and that green material is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll. So, and then a cell, a plant cell, first of all, a green plant, doesn't have a skeletal system. So how's it going to hold up? How is it not going to go, woo? What's going to hold it up? Make it stiff? Well, it has an outside thick layer called the cell wall. You could see it on that diagram, the plant cell diagram. So it's got chloroplasts and cell walls. It has the other 3 parts too that human and animal cells have, but it's got those. So there's five more points right there. So we're, what are we at? 19 now. Okay, and then you've got on here, where's it located? Right up here in the top box. The 3 functions of a cell. 3 things that it does. So what do cells do? They, what do we call that? Grow. So I'm calling this, did you see how I put it there? Can you see it if I get that up close? Okay, I'm looking, there it is right there. You see GRL. GRL. G for grow, R for reproduce. I told you this already once. So grow, these are the functions of cells. What cells do? Grow, reproduce, make additional cells, reproduce, and then L, they're alive. So a cell has to have a way to keep itself alive, to provide for itself. So anyway, so that's GRL. What does it stand for, the G? Grow. The R for, say it out loud, reproduce. And the L for the functions of life. Okay, to keep the cell, a cell has to somehow keep itself alive. So now, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to, down below, draw a human or an animal cell, that shape. Now I want you to draw little arrows. You had this in your book. You had a little diagram. The things that the cell has got to have, that have got to go into the cell. What has to go into the cell to keep it alive? It's the life function part. What's got to go in? It's a human or an animal cell. So O2 in, oxygen. CO2 out, carbon dioxide. O2 in, CO2 out. So oxygen in, you could show an arrow going out, and CO2 for carbon dioxide. C for carbon, O2 for the oxide part, carbon dioxide. What else has got to go into the cell? Arrows in. So oxygen in, water in. Animals and humans are basically water organisms. They're loaded with water. We're 70% water. Our cells are mostly water. Why don't we slosh around when we walk? Because the cells are not that big. They're real tiny. They're microscopic. So there's just a little bit of water in each cell. So oxygen in, water in, and we need energy, nutrients, food. So food in, oxygen, water, and food. And get them all. Draw the arrows and write them in. Right down here at the bottom somewhere. Okay, you've got them all. And then things that are going out, things that pop out. So I already said carbon dioxide, CO2, wastes, leftovers from the nutrients, wastes, water out, wastes out, and then excess water out. So those things, stuff that goes in, stuff that comes out. They're in your book in that diagram. So if you missed them, you can go back and grab those. Okay? So important stuff. Now, what did I leave out? I left out this in the middle box. So have a look at the middle box. First, you've got right here, cells are the basic unit. A unit just means part. So above unit, write part. Cells are the basic units, parts of structure and function. That means cells are the basic building block of an organism, a living thing, made of cells. All living things are made of cells. It's part of cell theory that's coming up in a minute, so that we'll go over. Okay, so you've got cells, basic unit of structure and function. So they're the parts that carry out all of the functions that we mentioned already: grow, reproduce, and to keep the cell alive, the living part of the cell. Now, a microscope is a device that magnifies either light or magnifies an object using light or electrons. Two kinds of microscopes. And when I showed you that convex lens a little bit ago, here it is. When I showed you this, my guess is it's magnifying the light that is bouncing off my eyeball. Is it making it look bigger? And guess what these are found in? You guessed it, Chester. Microscopes, convex lens, so that they magnify. That's a light microscope. Or it could be an electron microscope that uses a beam of electrons, tiny subatomic particles, to cause things to look bigger than they really are, or to magnify them. So you've got microscope right here, and it actually mentions right here an instrument that makes small objects look larger. Then down below, I'd like you to highlight this. Look what it says in the third box on LS1. It says some microscopes focus light through lenses, like you just saw, to produce a magnified image, and other microscopes use beams of subatomic particles. What are they called? Electrons. Okay, so you can see what I've highlighted here. You'll want to do the same. And then let me look at this. The last thing is those guys, Schleiden, Swan, and Virchow, that you read about. They came up in the 1800s with a theory about cells. One was that all living things are made of cells. All of these are found right here. So, excuse me, you're circling cell theory and the different parts of it, and they're right here. Over here on the right side, all living things are made of cells. Right there. There it is, right there. Cells are the basic unit of structure and function. In other words, cells do the jobs of an organism, and cells build the structure of the organism. And then all cells are produced from other cells. That's the reproduction part. So all cells come from other cells. They're reproduced by a cell. So I'm going to ask you for those 3 parts of cell theory on Friday. So all of this cell information, so I'm going to ask you. So I think we're over 30 points probably on all of this information. So when I ask you about Schleiden, Swan, and Virchow, so what did they all contribute to? Cell theory. I'm not going to ask you to give their names. I'm not going to. So how about this? How about Hooke and van Leeuwenhoek? What are they famous for? What did they each build? What did they each invent? A different kind of microscope. And then Hooke looked at dead plant cells, and Hooke, if I said to you, what's Hooke really famous for? Robert Hooke, Englishman. In 1665, I'm not going to ask you that date, he gave the name for the little compartments or rooms that, in this case, plants were made of. What did he call them? Cells, of course. He gets credit for that. Robert Hooke, cells. Okay? So anyway, so if I ask you, hey, van Leeuwenhoek and Robert Hooke, what do we give them credit for? What are they famous for? Building the first microscopes. Okay? And then Robert Hooke, in addition, named the little compartments living things are made of, and he called them, say it out loud, cells. Called them cells. So anyway, there you have it. Lots to review. Now, I've got to hustle. I have 3 minutes. Okay, I'm just reminding you. Now yesterday, it was odd numbers that got to go back and work with the activities. Remember the contest, I want someone to come up with another name other than science activity. Boring! Come on, come up with a creative name for the science activities. You can do it. Just white sheet, name, date, period, submit it in your stack of the stacker, and I'll have a look at them, and I'll pick the best one, and 3 Jolly Ranchers, and a homework pass, and a Coke next week. I'll look at those on Saturday. Okay? So if you're interested in being involved in the naming contest, okay? So let me tell you one more time about the activities. No more than 3 people in one cubby. Okay, we're doing even numbers today, so no more than 3. You can't talk. You can't share ideas or answers. You're just coming up with hypotheses. Your best scientific guess for the questions I ask. Okay, the very best you can do. You're only doing 2 today, just 2. You're going to put them in your journal. Now, you don't need a complete sentence answer, but you need a phrase answer. Not a complete sentence, but a phrase. A complete answer. But, you don't have to have a subject and predicate and, in this case, correct punctuation. Not necessary. Okay? But do a nice job on your hypotheses. Do a nice job on them. Okay? Please don't share answers anytime, while it's going on or after the fact. Please share no answers. Do it on your own. And I want to make it interesting, fun. I want you to be curious about each one. So now, if you do a really nice job and I get a really good report from Mr. Gilbert, there's a chance next week we do this twice, and maybe only do like 5 minutes and just do 1 question. Then as soon as you're done, then take your seat and work on your homework. Here's your homework. It's this right here. Do you have it? I think so. Yeah, here it is. This is 11G, right here, this worksheet. Discovering cells. At the top, I've got the answers come from page 5 through 11. See that? And there's a little curve to this, a little slant. You've got to write the page number where you found the answer in pages 5 to 11. If you don't have the page numbers down, you're going to lose at least 1 point. And so this was only going to be worth maybe 5, 6 points. I don't think 10. So page numbers, where you found the answers. Okay, just this side. There are some answers that are about the microscope which you haven't really read about. So do some looking. You'll be able to find them all in those pages 5 through 11. Mr. Gilbert's going to get you going, you evens, and you odd numbers are going to work on this worksheet at your seat, and then you're going to study lesson summary number 1. So get going once Mr. Gilbert says to. Okay? All right. See you tomorrow on Thursday. Hard to believe tomorrow's Thursday. All done on that. Thank you, Aaron. And if I could have one picture of a diagram of a plant cell and an animal cell, just sort of a comparison.